Hi, everyone. This is Aaron Pfeffer with Spyglass Lending. It is a Thursday. It is 11 a.m. Pacific time. So, of course, we are doing 30 minutes with Spyglass Lending. Today, joining me, really cool, really awesome guest, my own personal account rep at United Wholesale Mortgage. And before I introduce him, let me just set the tone for what that is. What is United Wholesale Mortgage? Well, they are the largest wholesale mortgage lender in the entire country. And as a brokerage, which Spyglass Lending is, when I do a conventional loan, where am I bringing my loans? I'm bringing into the wholesale lenders, not to the Wells, Chase, Cities of the world, but I'm bringing to the wholesale lenders and mortgage companies that compete with them. UWM, the biggest and the brightest, of course, and we're going to talk about why that is. Please meet Jonathan Figueroa. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here with me today. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I'm so happy and honored to be here with you today. So I'm super excited.
Me too as well. So let's start with this. Let's talk a little bit about you. Who are you? Where are you from? And we're going to talk about how you landed at UWM. So let's start with that.
Sure. Well, as you guys know, my name is Jonathan Figueroa. I've been at UWM for a little while. And to be honest, I'm an open book. I don't really do too much. I'm 24. I'm pretty young. I just got married in September. So that was fun.
Wait, something I didn't know about you, by the way. Congratulations to you. That's amazing. First of all, where was it? Where was the wedding?
It was in Michigan at me and my wife's church that we go to. Her father is actually the pastor there, which is kind of interesting. But
that's awesome.
Luckily, he didn't marry us. He was just like able to be a dad that day and enjoy like his daughter getting married and everything. So it was really great. And then like I'm the youngest of my family. I have a family of 6. And I'm the youngest of all of them. So
you're saying six other sisters and brothers, or 5 other sisters and brothers?
Correct. Yeah. And I'm actually a twin as well, which is kind of interesting as well.
Speaking of twins, I had twins back in October. So
wow. Congrats on you and good luck.
Thank you very much. Both of us had some pretty big news at the end of last year. So very cool. And you said you got married in Michigan, and that is where United Wholesale Mortgage is. Where exactly is UWM?
It's in Pontiac, Michigan. Actually, it's on East Boulevard. It's like on the main strip near MLK as well. So and it's been there for a while. We originally started, I think, in Brighton, and then we had a Troy campus, and then now we're in Pontiac.
Well, so by the way, there's that operative word campus, and I think people need to understand, and let's set the tone what this is. I mean, think about Apple at Cupertino, like they've got a campus, right? Or what Tesla's building down in Austin, like new campus, Google campus. UWM is somewhat the same way, right? Like it is a massive facility, a huge campus. If you're going to be the biggest wholesale lender in the country, you better have that. Let's talk about that a little bit. How big is it exactly?
So it's really huge. We actually have the largest or the longest bridge in the U.S. actually, which is kind of cool. And as I think you know, we made actually a second building, and then we actually have like 3 buildings.
Yep.
So we have like the main campus, and then the South Suite, and then the South Suite. And so it's huge. And we have like this long tunnel that like goes into the south end, and then that long bridge.
The South Suite. I mean, massive amounts of acreage. How many employees? Do you know off the top of your head how many employees work at UWM?
Man, I know it's probably over 1,000 people.
1,000 people. And let's break that down so everybody watching really understands what that even means. Like there's account reps like you, right? So how many account representatives are there, do you think?
I would probably say it's a good like 900 of us as just for the account executive side. And then we have like our lending support team, which is like our processor assist team, our VVOE team, our setup team, our condition splitting. It's a whole lot of people that plays a part of this team. So
no doubt about it. And we're going to break that down even further again for our viewers so they understand, like when a loan is done, when somebody needs a loan, hey, you've got to go through underwriters, processors, people who are verifying your mortgages, your places of employment and all of that. And you have all these divisions for that. But like you said, you're an account representative, an account executive, and there are hundreds of you there to service individuals like myself or brokerages like myself. Because what that is there are brokerages all around the United States of America that bring clientele who need refinances, who need purchase money to you, to lenders like yourself, or specifically UWM. Again, you're the number one, you're the biggest, you do so much more volume than every other lender. And we're going to talk about the other lenders or why they even get to exist. This is free America. There is competition, of course, but UWM still the biggest kid on the block, no doubt about it.
Yes.
So, and how about yourself? Like, how'd you end up at UWM? What attracted you to even go
So
there, or where were you before?
that's actually a really funny story. So before UWM, I actually had no mortgage experience. And so they literally got me like at an entry level as a processor assist specialist.
Yeah.
And so literally before UWM, I was taking care of my father because he was like really sick. So I took care of him for a while, and I was working full time at UWM. And then once I met my wife, I was like, I kind of need to make a little bit more cash, So I put in my application for an account executive, and it took a little while because there's so many people that they're looking at. And out of the few hundred that they did interview and like I was one of the candidates to get the job. So it was really great, and I'm super happy to be this account executive.
Well, by the way, congratulations to you, and I'm super happy that you're my account executive
Well,
because,
yeah,
and I think that there's what do you think that they're looking for? What are the traits specifically? Because I had an account executive before you, and he had a very specific trait, and I think you kind of share a similar trait with him. What do you think that is?
most definitely. So like there is a certain type of people that we do look for, and it's just people who are always themselves 24/7,
Yep.
who's positive, who has a really good work ethic, and just has a drive to be great each and every day. And so if you have that, like you are the person to work at UWM.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. There's another buzzword, positive, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, you just
Yeah.
hit right on it. Like, wow, was my account rep prior to that very positive. You yourself are, and almost everyone I speak with at UWM. Again, I have a lot of lenders that Spyglass Lending is approved with that I can bring a loan to. I speak with account reps, underwriters, people all over the place, around the country, all the time at other lenders. But when I speak with someone at UWM, the energy level is very different.
Oh
The
yeah.
positivity shines through the phone on every conversation. It is always optimism all the time. It's always sunny in Michigan, which we know really it's not, but where you are on your campus, it certainly is. It doesn't matter how hard the loan is, how tough the underwriting process.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a smile. Everyone's gritting through, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
and I don't know, is it something in the water there on the campus, or do they just teach you that you have to be that way, or is that just a prerequisite to get hired?
Honestly, I wish it was like Space Jam and we had a secret formula for it. But honestly, it's the people that we feed off of. I mean, I think that's why it's super crucial why Matt enforces all of us to work in the office, because last year we had to kind of work at home. And it was actually one of the hardest times for me because I'm a huge people person and I feed off of people's energy. And so it was really hard for me to be motivated and to like work all day the way I do it when I'm in the office. So when one of us are coming into the office with a bad day, like we have our teammates that's there, like, hey, it's not that bad, they encourage us. And so I think that's just like the main drive. And so like when you come in to UWM, it's like, I don't think you ever been to our campus.
I haven't. I'm looking forward to coming. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I had twins myself last year, or there was a pandemic, or still is in the country, I probably would have come up for a little training or to meet everybody, certainly.
Most
And
definitely.
I'm excited to get there.
I mean, here's the thing: like, if you came to our campus, you can just feel the energy through the phone. But imagine being in person. Like, the energy is so much different. Like each and every day, we start our mornings with a huge huddle with like all of us, and we just like kind of pump each other up to like seize the day. And our team is Carpe Diem, and that's Latin for seize the day.
Yep.
So that's just like one of the things that I really like about working with UWM as well, is because we always motivate each other to not be complacent and always get better each and every day.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this is a grind. This business, as people may or may not know, is a grind. I
Most
mean, it is daily about pushing paperwork uphill, and it is daily about just taking a lot of people who would otherwise be a little upset or a little annoyed with how much they have to do, borrowers included, on the
yeah.
hoops they have to jump through. And of course, since 2008, since the world, let's call it, blew up, right? I mean, just to kind of put it in that perspective, the financial industry essentially went off a cliff. Dodd-Frank was enacted. A lot of rules and regulations were put into place. Getting a loan has been a lot harder ever since. Probably for the best, certainly. Obviously, not a lot of bad paper out there being sold back to the markets. But in that respect, what people need to do to jump through is very tough. And UWM makes it easier. It's hard for anybody to stay mad at anybody. You can't be mad at an underwriter. I can't be mad at an account rep, whatever it may be, because the positivity does come through. And again, there's something about that. And like you said, it's from the top down. And you mentioned a name. You said Matt. Who is Matt? Let's talk about him a little bit.
Well, Matt is our president and CEO of our company. I think he's truly, honestly, like a revolutionary person. Like he changed the mortgage game with the technology that he's putting into the company, the way he treats us as his employees. Like it's amazing. He's awesome.
I've never heard anyone utter a bad word from him out of the UWM side. I think a lot of other lenders who otherwise have to go up in competition with him don't love this guy. But everybody who works for him, I mean, every soldier is just loyal to him. And let's talk a little bit more about him and why that is. I mean, when you see his videos or you hear him talk or you see his positivity, or like you said, his forethought on what it is game changing or turning UWM into this behemoth, this it's. Again, I'm trying to put this into perspective as a broker who brings loans to a mortgage lender, to a wholesale mortgage lender. I mean, and no disrespect to any of my other account reps or any of the other underwriters or any of the other companies, it's just not the same level of technology. It's not the same level of ability to get somebody on the phone or the access or you assist in marketing for a brokerage like myself. You assist in the ability to actually take applications simply through your site, whether, I could do it myself, but it's like you have the technology to set it up and make it look like it's my own with my own branding. You have this ability to, like, if there's a problem, this client request service is incredible, and I'm on a Facebook group called Brokers Are Better, which is awesome. And I love it. And it's brokers around the country supporting each other. But you really see more than anything else what pops up in there when you're kind of reading the feeds, or if you have a problem or you're talking to somebody, like, who are they talking about? They're talking about UWM. I mean, 90% of everyone's business goes back through you guys. And let's talk a little bit more about Matt and some of the other things that he's implemented. Please.
Well, there's so many things that he's implemented within just the last year. But like one thing, if you sat in a meeting with Matt, that he talks about is always growing the broker channel. He's like, I don't gain anything when brokers use our tools. All I want to do is just help the brokers grow, because he says this saying where it's like 80% of the market is retail, right? And then that leaves that 20% for the brokers. And he was like, and I want that 20% to grow and be like 25, 35, 45. Like, he just wants it to grow. So I think just him having that mindset of always trying to help the broker, I think that's what makes a difference compared to other lenders, because there's not a lot of lenders that you hear that actually invest into the brokers that they're working with. Like I tell my clients all the time that I talk to, I was like, hey, like when they throw an objection at me, I'm like, hey, how many lenders do you actually know that puts in like over $2 billion worth of technology for you to use at no cost? I was like, it's kind of crazy to think about it, but when we tell people this, they don't believe us until we show them, And so I think that's what makes Matt different.
And that's a number. I mean, really think about that number for a second. It's one thing to throw 2 million, 20 million, 200 million in technology, but 2 billion in technology to support brokers. And like you're saying, just the brokers, because that's all UWM is. It's wholesale lending. You don't even have a retail side of it like the other lenders and all of that. But it's like, again, as a broker, as somebody who needs to bring business that way, it's just such a big difference in going that route, certainly. And to talk a little bit about that, because anybody watching this is going to say, okay, well, why do I still need a mortgage broker if there is the retail side of the things? Well, think about it like this, and I always like to say it, and it's really resonated with people. It's your loan. Right. A broker is your vessel. Yes, I'm going to be getting you the absolute best rate, but it's more, it's more important than that. I mean, if you're going to get lost inside of a large lender that isn't necessarily caring that you have to close on something in 30 days or less, or doesn't care if the refinance takes 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it is, or the rate lock expires, or the time goes up, or whatever it may be, they're not holding your hand the same way a broker is through the process. They're not getting it done. They don't have the know-how necessarily, or the relationship, or even, the care that a broker does to make sure, like, this is my business. I don't exist without that level of communication and diligence to my clients, whether that's refinance or purchase money. And certainly I'm going to do my best, or do get you the absolute best rate, or even better compared to the other people. And that's a testament to a place like UWM having the ability to give us those rates. And that doesn't matter whether it's in the low level conforming market where the rate, the loan amounts are lower, or high balance, where again, that's between 650 and 970,000 on the money. And especially here in California, because we are in a state that has, higher prices than every other state, or the jumbo market. And let's talk about the jumbo market for a second, because you guys came out with something yesterday that's like, huh? What'd you do? What's this about?
Yeah, it was really crazy. It was actually really revolutionary. I mean, Matt was kind of like teasing us with it the whole time. He's like, oh man, I got this product. You guys are going to love it. Your broker's going to love it. And then like he was supposed to put it out last week, and we were pushing all our brokers to, hey, tune into this meeting because Matt's going to announce this is going to be like groundbreaking. He didn't announce it. he turned all of our heads. I'm like, Matt, what are you doing, man? You just teased us with this. And then finally, like this week, he finally announced it. And so I think it's an awesome tool for like brokers to really like get into those realtor shops and build some partnerships with them. Because as you know, the market is kind of crazy right now, and it's more likely not getting better. But
well, we're going to talk about this market being crazy, and we're going to talk a little bit on the second half of this podcast about that, your thoughts on it. But let's talk still about that jumbo product. Tell us specifically what is it? What are we looking at?
Well, yeah, but with the jumbo product, it's supposed to help our brokers get into those realtor offices to gain those partnerships, right? And then it also helps your borrower have a lower down payment, which is kind of crazy. Like people were talking about, oh, this 3%, this is crazy, and we were like, yeah. And so
lower down payment. I mean, let's really hit this hard, right? Most people who have to get a jumbo loan need to be putting down 20% for the longest time.
Right.
Well, if you're getting a $1.5, $2 million, $2.5 million loan, whatever it may be, that's a lot. Now, I know at the moment you guys are capping a $1.5 million on the loan amount and all of that, but still, to get a $1.5 million loan amount, you bought something for $1.8 million, 1.5 previously. You're putting down $300,000 to get that loan amount, to get that jumbo.
Crazy.
Not the case any longer. Now you're as little as 3.5% down payment, 5%, 10%, whatever it is, whatever the level of comfort is for that jumbo borrower. That's a huge difference. A huge difference, especially in a market like ours here in Los Angeles, where now forget it. Every property that anybody really wants starts at $1 million.
Correct.
So, it makes a big difference when you're kind of in that 1 to 1.6, 1.7, $1.8 million space and only have to bring in, as little as 3.5% down as long as you qualify. So very cool. But yeah, I mean, again, he's on the forefront of doing, of making these things happen. And it happens like this all the time. I mean, I feel like there's an announcement week after week coming out that you guys have. Tell me a little bit more about some of the other ones.
Well, okay, so not only with our product or our jumbo products, I should say, but we also have like our conventional loans and our government loans that we do that we deal with. We like to call it our elite service. So you get the best pricing, the best service, and like the best speed for all of them. And you get all that with our regular loans, like standard loans. But with our elite loans, those are the ones that we really want because it's a little bit easier because the borrowers, of course, is a little bit better. They have higher FICOs. They can put a little bit more down for their down payment. But when it comes to all of our products, the main thing that we try to focus on is our client service. How can we have the borrower experience an excellent client experience here at UWM? Because if the borrower has a good experience with their lender, then they'll come back to that borrower and they will refer more borrowers to the broker. And so that's like our whole mindset when it comes to our products, is to make sure that the broker looks like a rock star to the borrowers.
And that's everything. I mean, and to your point, that really is. And a lot of people would otherwise say, hey, okay, sure. Is that really the case? You know what? That is the case. The entire business is based on networking. The entire business is based on referral. If somebody has a really good experience, they're going to go tell their friend about it. They're going to tell a family member about it, or they themselves are going to come back and utilize the same broker or want to go back to that same lender again. And that speaks to, an investment property or a secondary home, a vacation home, refinancing their existing house, whatever it is, as they grow, whatever it may be. But that's what it's all about. I mean, you want to get those. There's a reason people want 5-star Google reviews. There's a reason people send out emails saying, hey, referral is the absolute best thing you give me. There's a reason brokers need to follow up, constantly contacting their borrowers or their people over and over again, or asking others, give me that referral. Well, once you do, and you show how good of a loan you got for somebody or good of an experience they had, considering how hard the experience is, that makes a big difference for sure. Now, you had mentioned the market is crazy. Everything is kind of turned upside down. Let's talk about that. What happened in the last 6 or 8 weeks that people need to know about?
Well, the as far as basis points, it got a few points worse than before. And I think we're kind of seeing this market kind of go up and down at the moment. Inflation kind of has to play a huge role in this as well. But we're kind of just encouraging all of our brokers to be like, hey, like, we're here for you, and like we're teaching you how to use these tools to get these borrowers into your office, even though the market is looking the way it is. So, and to any other brokers that are watching, I was like, and if you are working with UWM, I mean, your account executive is your like advocate at this moment when it comes to the market. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. And let's delve into that a little bit further. I'm going to go down that chain of events a little bit further and to talk about, you mentioned inflation, or why have the interest rates gone up? So people, if they've gotten their ear to the pulse a little bit, or if they're interested in buying a house or potentially thinking about refinancing, what has happened in the last 6 or 8 weeks? Okay, we know inflation is runaway. So what is done to combat that? The Federal Reserve has to raise their interest rates, their two main interest rates, to do that. And that, of course, has an effect and will essentially trickle down into mortgage interest rates,
Right.
and those have to rise. But there's a bigger issue at play. The other side of that is what the Federal Reserve has on their balance sheet, and that's what's tough. $9 trillion worth of bonds. So people need to understand that when the Federal Reserve wants to, manipulate the currency, what they'll
Mhm.
do is they will, what's known as quantitative easing, and that's been going on a long time. They will give the banks money. They'll flood them with money. The money's cheap. The banks get to lend it out cheaply. But on the other side of the equation, what's happening now, quantitative tightening. Hey, 9 trillion is on our balance sheet. We've got to sell that paper. Quantitative tightening, controlling the monetary policy. The other side of the equation, not flooding the banks with money. If the banks aren't getting flooded with money, if the money isn't that cheap right now, well, then the banks have to raise interest rates to make up for that. And that's where we are right now. And
Yep.
and all of that, combating inflation and a few other factors that are happening, supply and demand, gross domestic product, all of that goes into it a little bit, right? There's a lot to be said, but that's why we are where we are, and a lot of people are concerned about interest rates continuing to go up. And before we talk about that a little bit, historically, they're still extremely low. Now, they were insanely low the last 2 years, as we
Yeah.
know, especially through the pandemic, and like the Fed flooded the entire economy with more money printed in a couple of years than have been done in hundreds of years, and we know that.
Yeah.
But now that it's tightening a little bit, okay, the interest rates are rising. Do you see them going up any further? I mean, is there talk internally at UWM that they're going to continue to go up? Where might they land? And if you don't want to prognosticate, I totally get it. But what do we think?
To be honest, we talked briefly a little bit about the market. The main thing that we try to focus on is encouraging our brokers, because there's some broker shops who don't even have an office. They're still in their PJs in their basement working, trying to like originate these loans, right? So, we hope one day, hey, these prices and the rates get a little bit better. But at the end of the day, this is like we're partners with all of our brokers that we work with. So the main thing that we drive to do is always to encourage them, because they don't have an office just like us. They don't have people working around them like us. So we have to be those people for them. We have to be the motivators and like the encouragers and the people who kind of push them to get more loans and do more for themselves as well. So that's like the biggest thing that we try to do for our brokers at this moment. So
No doubt. And that makes a lot of sense. Do you think, though, that interest rates, is there talk of that? Is there an expectation they're going to continue to go up, with the idea that the Fed is talking about raising interest rates throughout the year, is going to end up dumping that paper starting in March? What do we think?
I haven't really kept my eye on it, and but I hope that the rates do get better, because it'll just make all of our jobs a lot easier.
No doubt about it. Have you seen? I mean, and we could talk about it or not, but have you seen kind of a drop off, at least in the last couple of months, of refinance money?
Oh, most definitely. And like one of the things that we're trying to do right now is like encourage all of our brokers to kind of build partnerships for the purchase business later on in those quarters, because like if you're trying to do like the refi thing right now, it's not going to be like possible unless you have like clients that are trying to take equity out of the home with the cash out refinances.
Right.
But other than that, it's like
or they missed the train last time, right? They're like, oh, I'll get around to it. They couldn't. Maybe they couldn't qualify at that time, or maybe they just thought the rates would be amazing forever or continue to go low. But if there's somebody who had long, maybe they were sitting on 4.5%, 5.5%, 6.5% rates prior to this, or ARMs, right? They were in adjustable rate mortgages that are coming due. They got to do something before they recast, and maybe they don't want to lock in now if they have the ability, if they qualify for. So there is certainly reasons people would refinance, or as you mentioned, cash out, and that's part of it if they can't otherwise get a home equity line of credit and they don't want 2 loans, or they want to redo that. But this idea of realtor partnerships, wow, yeah, that's where it's all about, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's purchase business. And where are you going to get your purchase business? Yeah, you're going to get maybe direct to the client or the referrals that we spoke about, and that's always a big part. But where does it really come from? For myself, for a lot of brokerages, it's about having the realtor partnerships, explaining to them, hey, come to us for the pre-qualifications. Hey, also, and especially here in California, and I'm not sure what it's like in other parts of the country, and maybe you can lighten us, but wow, you better get not only a loan done or a purchase done in 30 days or less, because that's where it's at. And it's a seller's market. So they're like, not even 30 days. I want it done in 23 days, 24 days, 25 days. Well, guess what? Where's that going to happen? You better go to a wholesale lender like UWM, or maybe even only UWM to make that happen, because other lenders can't accommodate that.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that in other parts of the country as well? Is there that ticking clock, not just in California, but everywhere else?
Most definitely. I mean, the market, like mortgages in and of itself, is a ticking market. Like you have to be fast, and like for me as a consumer, like as a borrower, I wanted to be in my house as fast as possible. I didn't go through UWM, but I did want to get in the house fast. And one thing that I'm proud to say about UWM is no matter where we are and no matter what the market is doing, UWM is always consistent on their turn times. And so I take pride in that. You know, we work hard to keep that, and we just try to get better and better and faster each and every day. So.
And you do. And that goes back to Matt again, right? I mean, his mindset is always like, it's just, this guy seems to wake up every day thinking about like, how do we just kind of take over the world in the mortgage market while still remaining competitive? But I guess setting the pace, right? Setting the tone, so every other lender can benchmark or complain about them, one or the other. But like that's just what it seems to be. It's like, what are we doing today? What is the new piece of technology we're rolling out? What is the new loan amount we're rolling out? How are we informing our brokers? How are we making this all better? How are we making it easier on our borrowers? It's that mindset. And again, you don't really always feel that or see that at the other lenders, certainly. But anyone listening, no disrespect to my other lenders and my other account reps. I love you all. You're still getting loans, I promise. But there is something special about, bringing to UWM and watching it all in motion. It's like poetry in motion sometimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary a little bit. Like on one hand, you're like, is this okay? Am I feeding the Death Star? And the other hand, you're like, you know what? I guess I should, because they got the best, like the best cafeteria there is, the best campus there is. Like I'm happy to go eat at that table. A little bit further, I mean, what do you see happening, or maybe what you could tell us a little bit more about what the next, not just couple of months or this year or 2022 looks like? What's the talk heading towards 2024, 2025, 26?
I mean, like UWM, we try to stay on top of our game all the time. So we're always trying to get better. We never try to stay complacent. This year, I know we have a goal. I think it was like 245 billion worth of loans.
Okay, let's stop for 1 second. Let's think about that number. What was last year's number?
Ooh, I think it was 200. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like 200 something billion that we did.
200 something billion, and now you want to eclipse that, right? We're still we're trying to do better, and you want to do better, knowing that refinances, a lot of them are off the table now, right? I mean, again, that has fueled the market for the past couple of years because rates were so insanely low, and everybody rushed to the refinances and all of that. And now you're saying, even though that's off the table, UWM still wants to do more in volume, and that volume is $245 billion.
Correct. Yeah, it's good. Okay. It's gonna be crazy. When Matt told us that, we all looked at him and was like, "Man, you're crazy! Like But here we are, a few months into the new year, and we're killing it as a team. And I have to give props out to like all of the AEs that I work aside with, and even our processing team that like processes all of those loans. Like they're working like crazy down there in those trenches. But that's where our goal is, and we're driving each and every day to hit that. And so I think that's one of the things that fuels us as well, not being complacent. We have this saying around there where we say we never relax, we never sleep. Like it's just like us saying like, hey, let's do this, we're in this together, let's get better.
But I think that people like that, right? I mean, that's the idea. I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, just bringing it right back to the beginning of this part of this conversation. You're a young guy, full of energy, full of that positivity, and a big reason why you're there. And it just seems to be so part of that. And I think that there's something to be said. I'm going to kind of close out on this, for instance. I mean, in this world of ours, in this life, you see so many changes through this pandemic. So many young people are like, I don't want to go to the office, I don't want to work, or don't necessarily kind of go to the notion that capitalism is an okay thing. But like, let's be honest, that UWM is probably the biggest bastion of capitalism. But there are plenty of energetic young people who say, no, this is a great thing. And we are providing loans and mortgages for America, and homeownership prevails and refinance prevails. And whether you like it or not, that's still kind of what's out there. So let's do it, and let's do it with a big smiling face, and just make it as digestible and easy for everybody who ultimately gets it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I totally agree. Hands down.
That's kind of where we're at. Well, Jonathan Figueroa, you were amazing today. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Congratulations again on your marriage, on landing an incredible position at UWM, and of course for being my account rep at UWM. Congratulations on that. I mean, you get to deal with me all the time. Lucky guy that you are. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. We'll do it again, man. All right.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you soon, and I'll bring you a loan. We'll go over them soon.
Most definitely. Let's do it.
All right. I'll talk to you.
All right,
Bye.
man. Talk to you soon. Bye.